You found a property in Dubai for 2 million dirhams and you have 2 million dirhams. You think that you're ready to buy, but the fact is you're not. Because in Dubai, a 2 million dirham property, it does not cost 2 million dirhams to buy. And I'm going to show you exactly what it does cost in this video for both secondary market and off-plan purchase. Every single fee, every charge, nothing hidden, so that when you walk into that purchase, you have zero surprises. Now, this is one of the most common conversations that I have with my clients. Someone comes to me, they've done their research, they know that they want to buy, and then we go through the actual numbers and their eyes widen. Not because Dubai is expensive to own once you're in it, because it genuinely isn't. There's no annual property tax, there's no capital gains tax, no income tax on rental income. Those are extraordinary advantages compared to almost every other major property market in the world. But the upfront transaction costs, it does catch people completely off guard. And the costs are different depending on whether you're buying a secondary market ready property or you're buying an off-plan directly from the developer. So I'm going to walk you through both scenarios side by side, and I'm going to be using a 2 million dirham property throughout to make it very clear. Now, cost number one, this is the biggest cost, is the Dubai Land Department transfer fee. Other people call it the DLD fee. This is a 4% fee of the purchase price. It's mandatory, it is non-negotiable, it is government mandated. So on a 2 million dirham property, that is 80,000 dirham DLD fee. Here's where secondary market and off-plan, they diverge immediately. On a secondary market ready property, you pay this in full on transfer day at the trustee office. It must be paid before the title deed transfers into your name. So you have to budget for it on day one. And on an off-plan purchase, this same 4% is paid as what's called the accrued registration fee. This is when you sign your sales agreement with the developer. It's not a handover, it's at the start. So don't think off-plan means you pay it later. But, and this is a significant but, most developers right now, they are covering this fee entirely as a buyer incentive. We've seen with Showbird, Damac and other developers, they are absorbing this 4% on selected products. If your developer is covering the DLD, that is 80,000 dirhams saved almost immediately. It's real money. Always ask up front whether the DLD is included or excluded in the price you're being quoted. Now, the running total here, on a secondary market, it's 80,000 dirham. On an off-plan with no waiver, it's also 80,000 dirham. An off-plan with a developer that is covering the DLD, it's 0 dirhams. Now, cost number two, the registration, the title deed, the admin fees. For a secondary market purchase, the trustee office registration is around about 4,200 dirham, including VAT. The title deed issuance, it costs around 580 dirham. The knowledge and innovation fee, it is around about 600 dirham. So in total, approximately you're paying 5,380 dirham on top of your purchase. For an off-plan purchase, you pay an accrued registration fee, which covers the provisional registration of your contract. The DLD charges around about 4,200 dirham, and they charge you this at the trustee office. Your full title deed is issued at handover, and there is no additional 4% fee charged again because you paid it previously. It is just the 580 dirham title deed fee at that point of handover. So the running total on a secondary market is 85,380 dirham, and for an off-plan is 84,200 dirham, or if the developer has waived the DLD fee, it's only 4,200 dirham. Cost number three, this is the agency commission. And this is where off-plan and secondary market, they are significantly different. For a secondary market, the standard agency commission here in Dubai is 2% of the purchase price plus 5% VAT. On a 2 million dirham property, that is 40,000 dirhams plus 2,000 dirham VAT. So it's 42,000 dirham paid by the buyer. On an off-plan, direct from the developer, in most cases, the developer pays the broker's commission themselves. So you as the buyer, you would pay 0 agency commission. The broker still works with you, still advises you, and still handles the entire process, but the developer funds the fee. This is one of the most significant financial advantages of buying an off-plan that most people miss. On a 2 million dirham property, you are saving 42,000 in commission versus the same property on the secondary market. So the running total here, secondary market, you're looking now at around about 127,380, including all of the fees. For an off-plan with no DLD waiver, you're looking at 84,200 because you don't pay the commission. And an off-plan with the DLD waiver, you are still at only 4,200 dirham. Now, cost number 4, this is the NOC fee. And this is only for the secondary market. When you buy on the secondary market, the developer must issue what's called an NOC. It is a no obligation certificate. And this confirms that there are no outstanding service charges before the DLD will allow that transfer of the property. Developers charge around about 500 dirham to 5,000 dirham for this. Now, typically this is paid by the seller, but it can slow down your transaction if it is not sorted quickly. And in some deals, it does get negotiated by the buyer or the seller of who will pay that fee. So if you're buying an off-plan property directly from the developer, there is no NOC required. It is non-applicable. Cost number 5, the DEWA deposit. The DEWA is the Dubai Electric and Water Authority. Now the DEWA deposit, this applies to both scenarios but at different times. With the secondary market, you pay this immediately when you take ownership of the property. Normally it's around about 2,000 dirham for an apartment and 4,000 dirham for a villa. With off-plan, you would pay this at the time of handover, and that is when you receive the keys, but you do not pay it at the time of purchase. So for an off-plan buyer, this cost comes 2, 3, or even 4 years down the line, depending on what project you have purchased. If your building uses district cooling, Empower or Emicool, additional deposits and activation fees, they do apply on top of the DEWA. The budget approximately is around about 3,000 dirham for district cooling setup. Now, cost number 6, conveyancing. This is again mainly for the secondary market consideration. A conveyancer handles all of the legal side of the purchase. That is for the title verification, drafting the MOU, coordinating on the NOC, attending the DLD transfer. That cost ranges anywhere between 6,000 dirham and 10,000 dirham. For off-plan purchases directly from the developer, the process is much simpler. The developer handles most of the paperwork, and most off-plan buyers don't use a conveyancer at all. For the secondary market, particularly if it is your first purchase and you're buying outside of the UAE, I strongly recommend having a conveyancer in place. That cost of a mistake on a 2 million dirham transaction, it will be significantly higher than the 6 or 10,000 dirham a conveyancer costs. If you're buying with a mortgage, whether it be secondary market or off-plan, of course there are additional costs here. On a secondary market property at 80% loan to value, your loan is approximately 1.6 million dirham. The mortgage registration fee is 0.25% of the loan amount plus 290 dirham. On a 1.6 million property, that would make around about 4,290 dirham. That is paid directly to the DLD. The bank arrangement fee, 0.5% to 1% of the total loan. On a 1.6 million dirham loan, 8,000 dirham or 16,000 dirham. Some banks waive this on promotions. My advice is speak to your mortgage broker. He will be able to help you out with this. The property valuation fee. This ranges between 2,500 dirham to 3,500 dirham. The bank requires this before they approve any mortgage. For an off-plan with the developer with payment plan, here is one of the most key advantages. During the construction period, you are making installments directly to the developer. There is no mortgage costs at all. These will only kick in if you choose to mortgage the handover balance, which, as I've explained to you before in a different video, you can absolutely do. and the rental income typically will cover your mortgage payments. But during construction, you are saving all of these mortgage fees. And then there are ongoing costs of ownership once you are in. These both apply to secondary and off-plan, but the timing does differ. Service charges. These are annual fees paid to the Owners Association for the common area, which is maintenance, security, pools, gym, lifts, landscaping. This is normally calculated per square foot per year. Normally on, let's say, buildings, apartment buildings, it's around about 10 to 12 dirham per square foot. Mid-range apartment buildings, around about 15 to 20 dirhams per foot. And premium towers and villa communities, they can range between 25 dirham and 35 dirham per square foot or more. For secondary market buyers, this will start immediately. For an off-plan buyer, the service charge does not begin until the handover of your property, which means if your handover is 3 years away, you have 3 years of zero service charges. That's still a real saving of around about 45,000 to 60,000 dirhams per year on a mid-range apartment. Now, the municipality housing fee, this is 5% of the annual rental value. It's collected through your DEWA bill. If you rent out your property, your tenant pays this. If you live in it yourself, you pay it. The building insurance is around about 1,500 to 3,000 dirhams per year. It's not mandatory unless you have a mortgage, but it is strongly recommended. I would definitely advise all of my investors to get that. So here is the complete picture on a 2 million dirham property. We have 3 scenarios. Scenario 1, secondary market cash purchase. You have an 80,000 dirham DLD fee. Your registration and admin is around about 5,380 dirham. Your agency commission, 42,000 dirham. DEWA deposit, 2,000 dirham. Conveyancing, 8,000 dirham. Your total costs are around about 137,380 dirham. So what you need on the 2 million dirham property is 2.137380. Now, scenario 2, this is an off-plan with 0 developer incentives. You will have your DLD/ACOOD fee, 80,000 dirham, your registration, 4,200 dirham, 0 agency commission because the developer pays it. You will have a DEWA deposit, which is 2,000 dirham at the time of handover. Your conveyancing is not required, so your total extra costs are around about 84,200. And what you need up front is 84,200 plus your first installment payment on that property. Now, the last scenario, scenario 3, this is if the developer is covering the DLD and obviously the commission. The DLD waiver saves you 80,000 dirham. You would again have 0 agency commission. You would have a 4,200 dirham registration fee. The DEWA deposit at handover, 2,000 dirham. So your total upfront extra costs are 4,200 dirham. What you need up front is 4,200 dirham plus your first installment. The difference between the most expensive scenario and the best structured off-plan deal is over 130,000 dirham, and it's on the same 2 million property value. That is the real difference that changes how much capital you need, how much you can deploy elsewhere, and what your effective purchase price actually is. This is why understanding the costs before you buy, it's not optional, because it changes every calculation. There's no annual property tax, no capital gains tax, no income tax on rent. Dubai is still one of the best places in the world to own property. These upfront costs are a one-time payment into a tax-free asset that will generate you income for years to come. But you do need to know the number, the real number, before you commit. And now you do. If you want me to put together a full cost breakdown on a specific purchase you're looking to make, your budget, your property type, whether it be a secondary market purchase or an off-plan purchase, fill out the form in the description below. I will come back to you directly. And if this saved you from a nasty surprise that other people may not be telling you, please do like the video and subscribe. It genuinely does help me keep making content like this. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.